Welcome to the Explainer. Listen, if you've ever written automated tests, you know the pain, right? Your code just gets messy. It's repetitive. It's a nightmare to manage. Well, today, we're going to fix that. For good.
All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to start with the goal, what we're even trying to do. Then we'll look at a really common trap people fall into. After that, I'll show you a much smarter solution, how it actually works in practice, and then the big payoff, why this whole thing is such a game changer.
First things first, let's get on the same page about what we mean by data-driven testing.
So what is it really? Well, the big idea is super simple. Imagine you need to test your app with like 100 different user accounts. Are you going to write 100 different tests? No way. With data-driven testing, you write one test script, and then you feed it data from an external source, like a simple Excel sheet. That one script will then just loop through every single row of data, testing everything automatically. It's incredibly powerful.
But, and this is a big but, this power comes with a catch. There's a really common trap that can turn your beautiful, efficient tests into an absolute nightmare to maintain.
And this is probably going to look familiar. What do? We write our test case, and right inside it we mix the application logic with all the code to open, read, and close that Excel file. It's all just jumbled together. And then what happens when you write test case number 2? Yep, you just copy and paste that entire chunk of Excel logic all over again.
And that creates two huge problems. Number one, your tests get bloated, they're complicated and just plain hard to read. And number two, you're duplicating code everywhere. I mean everywhere. And trust me, that is a maintenance disaster just waiting to happen.
So how do we fix this mess? Well, there's a much smarter way, and it's built around this really elegant idea called a utility file.
Think of it like this. Instead of building your own hammer and screwdriver for every little job, you create a dedicated toolkit, a single specialized toolkit just for dealing with Excel. All that code for opening files, reading cells, writing data, it gets pulled out of your tests and put into one central place where any test can use it.
And what's in this toolkit? A bunch of simple, reusable functions or methods that each do one very specific job. You can see some examples here. You need to know how many rows of data you have? Boom, you call getRowCount. You need the data from one specific cell? You call getCellData. It's that clean, that simple. Each tool does one thing, and it does it well.
Okay, so we have this toolkit. How does that actually change our day-to-day workflow? How does it make our tests cleaner?
Well, check this out. This is the transformation. On the left, you have the before, that tangled mess of application logic and Excel logic. But after, on the right, your test case has one and only one clean job, testing the application. Anything to do with Excel? It just makes a simple call to the utility file. It delegates the work.
The test case basically becomes the manager or an orchestrator. It's not doing the nitty-gritty data work anymore. It's just focused on the main goal, testing the app. It says, hey, utility file, I need some data. It performs the test. Then it says, okay, utility file, write this pass result back to the sheet. So much cleaner.
And look, this is about more than just making your code look pretty. This is about a really fundamental principle in programming that has some massive benefits. So let's talk payoffs. Your tests become way less complex, you completely eliminate that duplicated code, but for me, this is the real magic, maintainability. Imagine the library you use to read Excel files gets updated. In the old way, you'd have to go change that code in, 10, 20, 100 different files? With a utility file, you change it in one single place. That's a huge deal.
And the impact here is not small. We're talking about a potential 90% reduction in data handling code inside your test cases. Let that sink in. 90%. All of that bloated, copy-pasted code, just gone. This isn't a minor tweak. This is a massive boost to your project's health and, honestly, your own sanity.
The source material we're looking at today nails it with this quote. A utility file is nothing but reusability. To achieve reusability, we always create utility files. And that's really the heart of it. This concept is reusability in action. It's what separates a fragile amateur setup from a professional, scalable automation framework.
So, here's the final thought I want to leave you with. This whole utility toolkit idea, it is not just for Excel. Not at all. The real takeaway here is to start looking at your own work and ask yourself this question. Where else am I repeating myself? What common tasks, what little chunks of code could I pull out and put into their own specialized toolkit? Because that's how you build better, smarter, and more maintainable software.